Hello and welcome to the Random Wrestling Review in our local to global series where we are just about to embark upon Seasons Beatings 2000. A pretty big show, no doubt about it. Just having a quick look here at some of the morale issues. Actually, it just caught my attention at this point. Let's just have a look at why they're not happy. So Rex King's irritated at recent booking. I think he did give us a note to say he wasn't happy with the fact that he was losing quite a lot. Eric Young also has morale issues. I think that's because of the botched turn. That's a botched turn that is very similar to Bobby Walker's morale issues. All because again, like we just brought them in and didn't align them in the right way when they came into the company. So that's why we've got morale issues there. But that's, I think, it in terms of morale issues, and it's all good. We've signed Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge to come in for this one shot at Seasons Beatings. I think we're ready to go for this, straight into booking Seasons Beatings. Thanks for joining us, by the way. I feel like I went into some detail there on something that was a little bit different from where I would usually go, and therefore I feel a little bit discombobulated by the way I've started the show, but apologies for that. So, we're going to start Seasons Beatings with the final match in Keith Hart's career, and it's against Teddy Hart, his nephew. We'll make it 10 minutes, we'll have them work the crowd. We're going to give Teddy the victory. Open match, flash pinfall finish, why not? Doesn't matter. And Keith Hart's going to struggle to go that far. That's fine. Keith Hart will be retiring, and we're going to add an angle afterwards where Keith kind of talks about everything that he's done in his career. We'll have Bruce come out as well, I think. And actually, why not have Jim Neidhart? Because we are booking Jim Neidhart in this show anyway, so we may as well have all the Harts that we've got in the company come out to kind of congratulate Keith on his career and give him, the props and the send off that he deserves. Who else can we have at this thing? I think we should have. Like yeah, I think we'll have Dave Batista. We'll have Buddy Wayne. I think makes sense to have him. It's just there's just no overness for all these guys. Anybody else that seems like a good, the right kind of person to have in this situation? Because he's got a lot of heels, obviously, on the roster, which doesn't really make sense to get them involved. Bobby Walker's only been around for a little bit, and he is going to be in the next match anyway. So C.W. Anderson and Eric Young. So I don't really want to put them in front of the crowd right now. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody else on the roster that's appropriate here. So we'll just have those guys come out. Keith Hart says his goodbyes and says he's thankful for his career. And that's it. That's all he's going to say. It's not going to be particularly long. We'll make it 6 minutes. Probably too long for Keith Hart to keep up. And this is a strange way, I guess you might say, for me to start the show. But I just actually wanted a bit more variety as we went through it. And I had a lot of singles matches here, and I didn't really want to mix everything up a little bit. I wanted to mix everything up a bit. I didn't want sort of 4 singles matches in a row. It's just the way I kind of do things. I like things to be a bit broken up. So next we're going to have a 6-man tag match. It's going to be Bobby Walker, Eric Young, and C.W. Anderson against Rex King, Barry Buchanan, and Chemo. Kind of strange trio of wrestlers, certainly on the heel side, because Buchanan and Chemo, of course, are part of the Rebellion. And what's going to happen here is that we're going to have a victory for, I think we're going to make it Anderson, are we? Oh, let's make it Bobby Walker. Let's have him pin Rex King. We're going to keep Rex King strong. It's going to be a flash pinfall finish, and actually that will make my mind up with regards to this one. I think we're going to give this to be just a pinfall finish and not have the quick pinfall, because otherwise we'd be doing it in 2 matches in a row. And yeah, this is obviously continues the feud between Bobby Walker and Rex King, and Bobby Walker kind of pulling off a bit of an upset victory here for his team with this roll-up finish, effectively. Then we've got in the next match, we're gonna have CM Punk and Ace Steel have their match. So again, very early in the show, I think we're going to make it a 15-minute slow build match, though. In fact, we don't even have to make it a slow build match. We'll make it the storytelling match, though. Who am I going to have win? I think we'll have CM Punk win this one. Yeah, CM Punk's going to get the victory in this one, and that's all we're going to do with that. Don't need to go into any other detail. Their big their big feud kicked off, obviously following the Rebellion's offer to bring Punk in to their crew, and then Punk rejecting them, and then the Rebellion, in retaliation for Punk's rejection, costing him a title match against Dave Batista a couple of weeks ago. No, a bit more than a couple of weeks ago now, but at least 4 weeks ago, I'd say. So anyway, CM Punk versus Ace Steel is next up on the show. Then we've got a bit of a random one. Mark Henry will face Jim Neidhart. I figured, look, these are just two guys that are big stars, or are reasonably important parts of the roster. Jim Neidhart, a big star, Mark Henry, just a reasonably important part of the roster. It'd be nice to give them have them in a match with one another. So that's what we're doing here. We're gonna have Jim Neidhart win the match in a clean in a clean way. That's no problem at all. But one thing I am going to do is set Jim Neidhart up for a future heel turn. There's a lot of babyface and heel turns lined up at the moment. We've only just turned CM Punk babyface, of course, and we've only just turned Billy Kidman heel. We've also got James Storm set to turn babyface. We've got Bruce Hart set to turn heel, and now we've got Jim Neidhart set to turn heel. So we are moving things around quite a lot at the moment, and all of those things will unravel in terms of the story over the next, the next 3, 4, 5 shows, certainly. And I'll be honest, this is the first time I've done some legitimate planning ahead. I mean, I say real planning ahead. I've not written it down anywhere. I've got it in my head for what's going to happen, but it's been reasonably detailed, more detailed than I would usually want to be at this stage. But I think Jim Neidhart basically needed a victory here anyway, because he's come in, he's had 3 matches and lost all 3 of them. So I felt like we needed something, a bit more of a boost for him going into this, coming out of this show. So next up is the grudge match between Buddy Wayne and his former protege, Billy Kidman. And I think we'll make this 12 minutes. And the winner is going to be Kidman. But the way he's going to win is with outside interference from Barry Buchanan. And what we'll also have actually at ringside, have we got an at ringside thing here? We'll also have Ace Steel come along at ringside as well. So Barry Buchanan and Ace Steel effectively, Ace Steel distracts the referee, and Barry Buchanan does the old axe kick on Buddy Wayne, allowing Billy Kidman to go up to the top, do the shooting star press, and get the victory. And we're not going to get an explanation for this just yet. That's going to be left for a future show. But Billy Kidman gets a victory over Buddy Wayne, the first match between those two, the protege and the mentor. So up next is going to be Bruce Hart, and he's going to introduce the Mavericks' special guest opponents for the night, Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge, on their return to the company. Of course, they were the original tag team champions in the company as the Mavericks. Sorry, I'm just writing this down. As the Mavericks' special guest opponents. Don't need that to be too long. Is there a way to work the crowd for these two? Star quality, will that do it? Let's just do charisma with these two coming out. So yeah, the idea here will be that, Bruce Hart introduces the Public Enemy as the Maverick special guest opponents for tonight for the tag team titles, with Bruce Hart still determined to get those belts off of the Mavericks. So it's going to be a tag team match. I'm expecting this to be a very good match, because, two good teams here. And yes, the Northwest tag team titles are going to be on the line. And you'll see here, Public Enemy, Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge, way back in February of 1998. Didn't defend the belt once until they lost it to Dog and Rose, the Bad Crew, but they're back to try and take the belts away from the Mavericks. Hang on, before we go any further, let's just. Is there? Yeah, they're not. Can you believe it? I don't even. Did we have them as a team before? Search. Hang on. Any type. Yeah, there they are. So let's make them a unit, an active unit. So then we should just they should now be active. They are. Cool. So now that will just change the name. I just quite like having the full name there, the Mavericks versus Public Enemy. And another pretty long one, I think we will have this. Let's go 14 minutes. And the winners are going to be, I think Chris Harris is going to win over Johnny Grunge in an open match, but it's going to be a tainted win. That's what we're going to do. Chris Harris is going to get the tainted win over Johnny Grunge. Johnny Grunge is unhappy. Do I care? No, I don't care. They're not. I'm not bringing them back. I don't think long term. I know I didn't actually sign them just to a one-shot deal, which was another one of my administrative errors that I made last time around. But we are going to release them after this, I think. So I don't really care that he's unhappy about that. I think we've done what we were going to do with the Public Enemy. Actually, you know what? I've got an idea for them that we could still do. So let's just keep him strong for now and mollify his unhappiness here. So that's the penultimate match. Now, after the match, what's going to happen is that James Storm is. What are we going to do with him here? Well, we're going to do some acting, I think, with everybody. So Chris Harris is also going to do some acting. And Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge are going to be there with the overness. And effectively, what happens is Chris Harris has just won the match by tainted means. He's going to leave the mat. He's going to leave the ringside area with the tag team titles. James Storm is going to be a less kind of what's the word? Just less angry or whatever towards them, and he's going to reach out a hand, and Storm quietly shakes hands with Public Enemy after match. And this is really just, as I did with Shawn Stasiak when he was turning heel, just finding ways of making it like putting him on a journey towards being a babyface. But in this case, we're actually going to turn him babyface here. We're going to turn him babyface in this moment. And I guess what I want to say about this is not really like I think wrestling sometimes and wrestling fans get hung up on the idea of officially designating someone as a babyface or a heel, and obviously the game works in that way as well. I mean, and it has to because there's no other way to mechanically determine for the game whether or not they should be liked or disliked. But actually, I think we get carried away with that designation, and actually, what it is about whether or not you're someone that is intended to be liked or not. And so I feel like we've done one or two things recently with James Storm where our intention is for him to be liked. And this is just another one. And I don't want there to be this moment, like this sudden, like, I'm a babyface now kind of moment. I want it to be just a kind of slow turn. And so I'm executing the turn now in the official designation because of the need for that in the game. But I guess if this was real and someone was watching it in the crowd, instead of him kind of officially turning here, it would be like he'd already started to hear some cheers, and then he would do this, and there would be a smatter of applause for him, even though some perhaps still wouldn't be sure about what his role was. But in order to kind of really reinforce that, after this match, Dave Batista is going to come in for the main event. And he is going to cut a promo where he tells James Storm that he's been told what happened against him 2 weeks ago, and he's not happy about it, and he's not happy to have retained the belt in that way. He's so Batista apologizes effectively and tells him he's not happy to have retained the title that way. So a short promo from Batista to tell James Storm that he then has his main event match for the title in a match that's been kind of waiting to happen for some time. It's Dave Batista and Shawn Stasiak. And let's not forget, these two have had plenty of history together over the last few years. In 1999, together, they won the Super Summer Tag Team Extravaganza back in August of '99. Batista and Shawn Stasiak defeated the Samoa Violence Connection. They were a tag team then as well. In fact, I've got stuff from other companies here with Batista defeating the Blue Meanie, which is funny. So yeah, so that was a big match, obviously, for Batista there. And then they also, I think they faced each other for the belt, did they? Oh, they did. They faced each other for the belt, but that was before that. That was way back in December, I think. November. November or December. It was November '99. Attitude Adjustment. And Batista defeated Shawn Stasiak. In fact, let's just have the matches involving Shawn Stasiak here. So yeah, so this was, they were both originally, Batista was a heel and Stasiak was a babyface. Then when Batista defeated Shawn Stasiak to retain the Northwest title, he did so with the help, or with some, I can't even remember now. I think it was Bad Crew. Bad Crew attacked Batista before the match, and Stasiak kind of tried to help him, I think, or something like that. I mean, I'm this is terrible. I can't really remember now, but there was a situation where they had to fight off some other people, and so they became a sort of a team in some respects. I think it was Bad Crew attacked Dave Batista. That's right. Apologies. So Bad Crew attacked Dave Batista after the match, and I think Shawn Stasiak helped get rid of them. And from that point on, Batista basically became a babyface and as champion as well. Let's not forget. And they had a couple of matches against Bad Crew. Then they went on to the Super Summer Tag Team Extravaganza and won that in August of '99. And Stasiak then turned heel in February or March time of this year, 2000, when he failed to defeat Dan Severn for the title. And that kind of then became a thing where, that's right, Batista and Stasiak were in a triple threat match with CM Punk at the Golden Triangle tournament in the first round, and they basically had an argument beforehand with Batista saying, what's happened to you? What the hell's going on? And then they just had a big brawl, and Punk won by countout because they just basically fought each other. And since then, we've been building towards this main event. So there's huge amounts of history between Batista and Stasiak, and this is really the first time they've had a one-on-one match since. Well, it is the first time they've had a one-on-one match since 1998, end of '98, 2 years in the making. And they've done all this stuff opposite one another during that time. And on this occasion, though, it is going to be a victory for Batista. He's going to retain the title and kind of end this feud as well. I feel like we've taken a long time to get to this match, and that has not really been by design. I mean, obviously, eventually, I started to lengthen out the end of the feud so that we could get this to the main event of this show. But actually, a major part of it is this feud effectively started just after Stasiak lost the title match, which meant he had no points. And then about a month later, or 2 months later, Batista became the champion, which meant they were kind of not in a position where they could have a one-on-one match and haven't been till this point. So this is where we are, and this is where it's finally resolving itself. Now let's have a look at the booking analysis. We are fine in terms of all of that stuff. We're not going to be penalised. So this is our show, and it's taken me a long time to book it, but there's been lots of talk through. I wanted to go over the history between Batista and Shawn Stasiak. I wanted to kind of just give some explanation for some of the stuff that we've done, but now we're going to do the show itself. Let's see how we go. So 166 people are in the Marshall Center for this event, and we start with Keith versus Teddy Hart, which Teddy Hart wins in 10 minutes and 8 seconds by pinfall with the Heart Attack 2.0. Don't actually know what that move is. Keith Hart was visibly tiring toward the end, as was predicted, and Teddy Hart gets the win with a 38 in-ring performance. Keith Hart did a 25, a segment rating of 34. Not particularly great, but not terrible. Got the show off to an okay start. And it's Keith Hart's last match, both in his career and the company. And afterwards, Keith is joined in the ring by Teddy, by Bruce Hart, by Jim Neidhart, by Dave Batista, and by Buddy Wayne, some of the baby faces who have been in the company for a long time with him. And Yeah, this was a segment rating of 31 as they all kind of congratulate Keith Hart. And Keith Hart just tells the fans that he's really pleased to have been able to perform for them for the last few years. He feels like he's accomplished much good things in the company. He's a former Northwest Tag Team title, won the Super Summer Tag Team Extravaganza tournament with Bruce, then teamed up with Teddy Hart for the last year or so, and has kind of given him a start in the business. And Teddy's now ready to go out and become a star on his own. So into the next match, Bobby Walker, Eric Young, and C.W. Anderson defeated Rex King, Barry Buchanan, and Chemo when Rex King was pinned with a roll-up by Bobby Walker. Once again, Walker kind of a little bit embarrassing Rex King here, who's not happy, obviously, with what's happened between them so far. And actually, Bobby Walker still hasn't improved much. I mean, maybe that's partially because we've only just turned him babyface. We need to do some work to get him up in terms of his quality of performance, but he's also got stamina issues as well, so I'm a little bit concerned about Bobby Walker's general how appropriate it is for us to really push him hard. We'll see. We'll see how things go. But anyway, C.W. Anderson at 37, pretty good. Eric Young at 27, Chemo 48, and Barry Buchanan and Rex King were at 38 as well. Then we had CM Punk versus Ace Steel. With CM Punk off his game, they still did a segment rating of 45 here. Punk wins with the Shining Wizard in 14:52. Punk did a 42 rating, Ace Steel a 37. It's obviously continued their story with one another. Punk picking up the clean victory for the first big grudge match of the evening, of which there are sort of three big grudge matches really in this event. Next, we had Mark Henry versus Jim Neidhart in a match that went for 9 minutes 52 seconds and was won by an anvil with an anvil flatliner. So Neidhart gets the victory. Mark Henry did a 35, Jim Neidhart had a 58, but a segment rating of 56. I think this is the joint best match in company history. Jim Neidhart seeming off his game. I mean, Neidhart's benefiting massively from his level of popularity, and that's why he's getting all these great matches. The hints at a Jim Neidhart heel turn didn't go down well. Who still remember his recent turn? I get that. And again, I do struggle a little bit with this mechanic in the game because it wasn't that he turned heel or turned babyface. Sorry, it was that he debuted as a babyface, and that's what the game's talking about. And I just think actually it shouldn't be a problem for someone to come in as a babyface for a week and then turn heel. Like if you imagine you don't know who this character is, you don't know what they're about, and they pretend to be a good guy for a couple of weeks in order to achieve something that allows them to then become a heel. I don't think that should be a problem. So I have a little bit of an issue with that with the game, and we've fallen foul of it a lot because I'm not very attentive to the small details sometimes. But in this case, I've been attentive, but I still want to do this turn, and I don't think there should be a problem with it. Okay, so then the next big grudge match saw Billy Kidman against Buddy Wayne, and Kidman get the victory to the surprise of many, 11:51 by pinfall using the ropes for leverage. Now, for whatever reason, the game hasn't added the notes I made about Barry Buchanan and Ace Steel interfering in this one. I'm saying they still did. Okay, so effectively, what happens here is Ace Steel comes down, distracts the referee, and Buddy Wayne and Bull Buchanan then also comes from the other side, axe kicks Buddy Wayne down, and Billy Kidman hits the shooting star press and gets the pin for a segment rating of 41. And not bad performances from either, though Buddy Wayne and Billy Kidman don't seem to click, which made for an awkward bout, which is a shame actually, because obviously, the plan was. Pretty much for these two to go at it a fair amount of times. We'll see if we need to do that. They certainly will be on the opposite side of the ring a number of times, but they don't necessarily need to be in singles encounters, I suppose. So anyway, Buddy Wayne loses to Billy Kidman. The student outstrips the teacher, although obviously he got some help whilst doing it. Then we have Bruce Hart come out and introduce the special guest opponents for the tag team champions, the Mavericks, tonight. He introduces the returning Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge of the Public Enemy. Both of them got an initial rating of awful with their gimmicks, which is not great. Segment rating of 39. and in come the Public Enemy to face the Mavericks in a match that got a 48 segment rating, so a very good match. The Mavericks winning in 14:27 when Chris Harris pins Johnny Grunge while using the ropes for leverage. The Mavericks make defense number 5 of the Northwest Tag Team titles, so they've continued to hold on to those belts. They're just unstoppable. And they already had the record, and now they've increased that record again. You can see here Chris Harris a 48, James Storm a 51 in-ring performance, both absolutely performing superbly. Johnny Grunge a 41, Rocco Rock a 38. Yeah, very, very good match indeed, and the Mavericks retain the belts. Then we had, after the match, Chris Harris walk off, kind of angrily, having won the match in the manner he did. He then walks off and takes his title, not really giving any time to the Public Enemy. James Storm, meanwhile, a little bit less, a little bit more conciliatory, and just quietly shakes the hands of both of his opponents, leaves the ring a champion. And this is where we're going to handle that turn. And that was a complete success, as you might imagine, because we've actually been building to this. But as I said before, this is not one of those things where I'm like, the fans go, now he's a babyface. It's more a kind of, well, we like this guy now, and we're going to start cheering for him. Maybe all at different speeds, different fans will get there at different times, because it's not a sudden he's now a babyface, we must react to him in this way. But it's rather, we've noticed that actually we quite like what he's doing recently. So that's kind of the way we've turned James Storm here. Then after this match, Dave Batista comes out and stops James Storm, and he tells James Storm that he's sorry. Basically, that he didn't see what happened 2 weeks ago, but he's been told by fans and by people he knows backstage what took place with Bruce Hart coming in and attacking James Storm and costing him the match against Batista. He said he's not happy to have retained the title that way, and if he could give a rematch to Storm, he would. But of course, that's not the way the rankings work in the Random Wrestling Review. Actually, that seems like a good time for us to look at the rankings, because we haven't looked at them all episode yet. You can see Dave Batista's top of the rankings as champion with 18 points, and at the moment there are 3 people on 11 points. Stasiak, Billy Kidman, and Chris Harris all have 11 points. Rex King has 10. Charlie Haas has 10. But obviously, Charlie Haas continues to be out injured. Ace Dale on 9, Barry Buchanan on 8, Teddy Hart, C.W. Anderson on 7, Kimo on 6, Keith Hart on 4, Eric Young 2, Bobby Walker and Buddy Wayne on 1, and then the rest on 0. Of course, a lot of that will have changed by now, because this is the rankings before the Seasons Beatings event. And that's why Batista and Shawn Stasiak face one another in the main event. A 50 rated match, absolutely fantastic match. And Batista makes his 7th defense of the RWR Northwest title, winning against Stasiak in 12 minutes 33 by pinfall. Finally, the curtain comes down on the Batista, Stasiak, and Mark Henry feud. Batista did a 42, Stasiak a 46. Still very, very good Stasiak at a segment rating of 50. To end the show is very satisfying indeed. And what a show it was. An overall rating of 49. I don't think that's going to be the best show in company history, but certainly the second best, I would think. But a 50 rated match for the main event, a 48 for the tag team title match, a 41 for Kidman and Buddy Wayne, a 56 for Neidhart and Mark Henry, a 45 for Punk and Steel. We're a better company now, much better, much more consistent, much more quality in general than we were, 6 months ago, let alone a year ago. So let's make our speeches. I think I'm going to give Dave Batista and Shawn Stasiak a lot of credit for the performances they put on in this show. And I think also it would be right for me to give some credit as well to James Storm, because, in fact, we're going to point him out as a good example, because he was very, very good indeed. So everybody happy with the speech? As you might imagine, it was a pretty positive speech, and we've only got about a minute left, and there's nothing major in the news. So what I'm going to quickly do is look at our top 100. So that was our second best show all time, just one rating short of the previous event that we had. In terms of the top 100 matches, Jim Neidhart versus Mark Henry goes into the second best match of all time. Jim Neidhart now in the top 4 matches we've had in history, and I'm a bit confused. I only had him. Oh, he said, yeah, that was his 4th match, wasn't it? So all 4 of his matches have been are now the top 4 matches in company history. But that is all because of his popularity. If you look at, obviously, we had in this show, Dave Batista and Shawn Stasiak's main event was the 10th best match in company history. We also had the Mavericks against Public Enemy, the 15th best match in company history. And below that, there will be one or two more that occupy the sort of upper echelons of this ranking. I can't find them at this immediate time, but they will be there somewhere. In fact, there's one. No, that was last year. Dan Severn versus CM Punk. They're around somewhere. I can't find them right now. But that was a very successful show. We're now up to 21 in terms of our popularity in the Northwest, which is really big. Could be significant. I'll be checking next time in terms of TV deals, possibly. Very, very exciting stuff. We are going to be back again in our usual time slots, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And the next episode, we will be bringing you the final event of the year 2000 with a load of interesting stuff going on. And I hope you enjoy it. You join us for that. Until then, thank you very much for watching.